Now we're going to give our player the ability to jump. To do that, we're going to open up our player script and we're going to make a couple little modifications. Instead of just setting the velocity or the vertical velocity to its current vertical velocity, we're going to want to set it to a jump velocity when the player presses jump, or leave it at that if the player hasn't pressed jump. So how can we do that? Well, let's add a line right between line 18 and 19. So I'll go to the end of line 18, click here, and hit the enter key. And we're going to create a new variable. We'll say var horizontal equals, no, not horizontal, vertical. Var vertical equals, and we're going to set it to equal to our rb.velocity.y. Now we're going to hit enter and I'm going to hit escape. The autocomplete's popping up. Those are all that gray stuff there was just autocomplete. So just hit escape and it disappears. Now what I want to do in my velocity setting is, instead of setting it to a new vector that's the horizontal and the current velocity, we're going to set it to the horizontal and the vertical. And right now, this actually hasn't changed anything at all. It's going to do exactly the same thing. All we've done is added another variable here. Instead of setting it directly to this y variable's value, we assign it to a vertical variable, and then we're just using that. So we need one more bit of code. We need to check to see if the player has pressed the jump key. So we're going to add in a if statement, or an if statement. We'll say if, and then we're going to do open parentheses. Notice that it's purple because it's a different type of keyword. It's a new one. What this is going to do is check to see if something is true. And if it's true, it's going to run some extra code. So we'll say if input dot get button down, capital B, capital D, and a capital G there. And we use our open parentheses and quotes. And we're going to check for fire 1, which is our left click button. And I think it's also our space button. So if we have pressed that button, then we're going to run the code on the next line, which is going to say vertical is equal to, and we're going to assign it to, let's just say 5. So we're going to give it a big value of 5 upwards. And then we'll hit enter and add in a new line. So we'll save with Control S, get rid of that star, and we should have no errors. If I hit Control Shift B, it should actually do a build and show a build succeeded message down there. If you don't see that, if your hotkeys are different, go to build and look for the build solution one. Control Shift B is the default. That's what I use. Make sure there are no errors. So now I've got my update method with the check to see if we pressed fire 1 that should modify the vertical velocity whenever we press fire 1. So let's minimize this window. We'll go back into Unity, we'll press play, and then we'll see if it works, and then talk about where these buttons are coming from. So we hit play. I can click, and look at that, my character jumps up. He bounces up, I can move left, I can move right, kind of spin him around and jump. I can spam jump as fast as I want. It just seems to work. So, all right, so far things are looking pretty good, I think, but you might be wondering, where are these inputs coming from? What is this all? Where's this magic? What are these strings? Let's go take a look at our edit and then project settings. You go to edit project settings, you should get a window like this, and then look for the input manager section. In the input manager section, there's an axes section, or an axes drop down, or tree, I guess, that you can expand. And underneath it, you'll see that we've got horizontal. Look at that. It shows the keys that it's bound to. We've got vertical. We've got fire 1, fire 2, and so on. Yeah, it was left control and mouse 0. So you can see what these buttons are. Fire 2 is the right click, and I think fire 3 is your middle click. These are all part of the old input system. This is the system that's been built into Unity forever. It's very simple, very easy to use. It works great for the most part, but it does have some downsides when you start to get into doing multiplayer development and other things. Relatively soon, we're going to switch away from the old input system to the new input system, but I wanted to make sure that you understand that this exists, understand how it works, and that it's slightly different from the one that we're going to be using throughout most of the course. But you will see projects that are using the old input system constantly, and tutorials and everything else, so it's very important that you understand it, know it exists, and even if you don't regularly use it, you should know how to use it. So there we go. Let's go back into our plastic SCM window and let's commit our changes. So right now we've added a jump. So we'll say added a basic jump and check in our changes.